Hey, Tom, glad you could make it.
Whenever you're ready, Mike, I'll let everybody in. I'm going to start letting people in.
Okay. It's way back.
Mike, we have 3 people that are on phones.
Okay,
On phones, I don't know who they are.
that's
This is
fine.
Eric Pearson Jr.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
Her and Audrey Tomlinson are also on.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
I'm going to ask all of you when the meeting starts, if you wouldn't mind muting so that, there's no distraction in the back.
If I could ask a question, Mike, this is Bert Tomlinson. I understand there's going to be some discussion and action for all the appeals tonight. If there are any questions, would we be given an opportunity to speak?
No, not tonight.
Okay,
This is when we decide.
okay,
Yeah, you can listen to our decisions and they'll be final. So you won't be able to say anything, that you haven't already said.
okay,
Actually, you won't be able to say anything at all. I'm sorry.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Kincaid, this is Linda McDonald. Can you take your screen sharing down, please? There we go.
I lost my Zoom.
I could still hear you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm looking to get video. For some reason, it's not working. Oh, it's probably down here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Getting smarter.
All right, everybody's out of the waiting room, Mike, so if someone later, I'll let them in.
Okay, very good. So we'll call the meeting to order. It's 7:06 on Tuesday, March 22nd. And take a roll call quickly. Hopefully everybody can hear. Linda, board clerk.
I'm here.
Okay, Tom,
Here.
Millie,
Here,
awesome. All right, very good. So we have to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 15th meeting.
Very good. Here a second.
Second.
Great,
It
thank
also-
you.
Mike, it also has to be the minutes from the meeting on the 9th as well.
I thought we already approved those, didn't we?
No,
Okay. All right. Again, I hear, make a motion to approve the minutes from the 9th.
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes from the March 9th BAA meeting.
Okay, very good. Guess we're all set with those. Any other business we need to discuss at this moment before we get into the appeals? Okay. Very good. So the first appeal we had on this agenda for the evening is Loretta Laparo, 52 Lake Road. So what we did was looked at the comparable sales that were provided by Ms. Laparo, and it seems as though the comps were inferior. They weren't as comparable to her house as they should have been. Some of them were inferior location, older in age. Interior was dated. Older houses, as Oakwood Avenue was a 1947 kit. Anyway, what we did was to check comparable sales in the area to see what they told us, and ran comparable sales of similar properties, make sure we were in the right ballpark. And the comparable sales indicated price per square foot of $205. And the house is 1468 square feet, which results in a value of $293,600. We have an estimated value of $285,200. So what that means, I guess, is that based on the comparable sales, the estimated value is higher than what the town assessor is valuing the property as. So it doesn't appear as though there's any room for a downward adjustment on the value. So, and another factor was that paid $277,000 right before the 1091 revaluation date. So it appears as though the estimated value is reasonable, and based on that, I don't see any room for adjustment. So I make a motion to keep the value and assessment the same for 52 Lake Road.
I'll second that.
Okay, very good. So no change in value for that property. That remains the same based on recent comparable sales. Linda, should we follow some type of format here, or we just go on? Linda?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm working off two computers here, so it's up to you. I mean, what did you mean by follow some kind of format?
Well, I mean, typically, what we used to do is to fill out forms, but that's
Oh,
something we could probably do
Yeah,
later.
now that we're doing Zoom, the minutes will suffice
Okay.
for the assessor.
Oh, yeah, you can play that back, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's Mrs. Laparo. The second case we have is Mr. John Kincaid, 22 Chesborough Bridge Road. Mr. Kincaid indicated that the revaluation company made a mistake by saying that the carport was attached, whereas based on photos provided, it is not attached. So we confirm that. And the original value of the carport attached was $17,241.
Mhm.
And the value now is 8250. So it looks like we can reduce Mr. Kincaid's value by $8,991. The current value, according to the town, is $225,000 minus $8,991, which results in a value of $216,009. That's the value and not the assessment. So the assessment will be 70% of that. Mr. Kincaid will receive a reduction of $8,991 on the value of his property and the appropriate assessment after that's factored in. So I make a motion to change Mr. Kincaid's market value to $216,009. I hear a second. A motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, great. So that was pretty easy. Moving on.
You have to take a vote, Mike.
Oh, we have to take a vote after each one?
Mhm.
Okay, and how do we do that? Do we just say all those in favor or?
Since it's Zoom and since Millie is not able to connect, yeah, raise your hand. You could just do a roll call and ask
Okay,
for each member how they voted.
all right. Millie, how do you vote?
Yes, to reduce the $216,009.
Yes. Tom?
Yes, to reduce.
Okay, very good. And do I need to vote also? Or
Yes,
okay, I vote yes. All right, all three in favor. All right, so that's Mr. Kincaid. Great. All right, next on the list is Paul and Diane Wisniewski, 24 Erdoney Road. All right, so this appeal, Mr. Wisniewski estimated the value of his property at $1,225,000. Our value is $1,371,400. And the only good way to do this was to, again, find comparable sales that are similar. There's nothing similar to that house. Most homes in the area are smaller in size, and they also have smaller lots on lakes. We checked lakes in the area for similar properties and found that these comparable sales indicated a range in value between $318 and $444 per square foot, with an average of $378 per square foot. We have a value of $239 per square foot for this property, which is well below the estimated value of comparable properties. If we went with the low value, the lowest value in our analysis, which was $318 per square foot, that would result in a total value of $1,827,000. And we have him valued at $1,371,400. So it doesn't look like there's any room for a downward adjustment on the value of that property. So in this case, I would make a motion to not make any adjustment in the assessor's value of the property and keep it where it is. $1,371,400 is the value we have. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, very good. All those, oh, let me see. So Millie,
Yes,
do you agree? You agree?
agree to leave it the same.
Okay, Tom is yes, and I'm also yes. All right. Is the formality good on that, Linda?
Okay,
All right, cool. All right, next is Jonathan Dixon, 37 Woodland Terrace. So in this case, Mr. Dixon provided an analysis of his property, and the only issue we had with that is that the appraiser used used comparable sales with much smaller lots. There are other properties that sold on the lake. One of them in particular was Newford Drive for $445,000, and it was a 650 square foot cottage that was taken down and rebuilt. This is the type of analysis that should have been done, rather than trying to estimate the value of the site based on small lots. The other issue is that the appraiser didn't take into consideration the waterfront, the amount of water frontage on the lake, which is very valuable. I think our town probably goes maybe $100 a foot or something like that on the lake, and when you think about that in the scheme of things, that's pretty reasonable. The other issue was that the building value, it was $44,200, and I did an estimate on the cost to build, which is probably in excess of $200,000, and the value we have is probably 80% depreciated, which it seems as though since the building is still being used and has some utility, that's more than fair as far as the building value estimate is. So, yeah, based on that information, it didn't seem, our value is 560, 500. Given the size of the parcel and the amount of lake frontage, that value seems reasonable. And I don't think there's any room for adjustment on this one. So 560, 500 is our current value. And so I make a motion to keep the assessor's value of $560,500.
I'll second that.
Very good, thank you. So we're going to take it to a vote. Millie, you're a yes.
Yes,
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm also yes. So 3 yeses to keep the value of the property where it is, as it seems reasonable. Okay, very good. Moving on. We're going to go to Gary Robinson. Mr. Robinson, 159 Pine Street, indicated that he thought his value was high. We currently have a value of $385,400, which is $249 per square foot. This house was rebuilt. It's in good condition. Mr. Robinson provided some comparable sales that were not really similar. They were on the same street. However, most were older in age and a lot more depreciation, and their value should have been lower. I know Mr. Robinson indicated that there was a large increase in value. Part of that was due to the fact that the building is in very good condition. It's almost brand new. But we took it a step further and looked at comparable sales in the area that were similar. And these comparable sales showed a range of $130 to $240 per square foot. And since his property is above average and newer in age, an estimated value of $230 per square foot, which is below the upper end of the range, seems reasonable. And using the square footage of the house, which is 1548 times $230 per square foot results in a value of $356,040, which is roughly 30,000 below where the current value is. What we had to do here was make sure that it was within the range of similar properties, and since it was outside the range, we should bring it into the range. And I feel that a reasonable value is $356,040. I make a motion to decrease the value of Mr. Robinson's property at 159 Pine Street to $356,040.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Take a vote. Billy?
Yes. Secret,
Okay, Tom?
Yes.
And I'm also yes. So reduce the value to $356,040 on 159 Pine Street for Mr. Gary Robinson. Okay. Next, we are moving on to John Allen, 65 Lake Road. Mr. Allen indicated that felt his assessment was high, mostly because he has asbestos siding. And also he believes that his land is not being taxed properly. As far as the land goes, if you want to make a change to your PA 490 program, your farm program, you have to get a forest report. So what you can do is contact, I'm not sure, it's probably the Conservation Commission, and get a report from a forester who can calculate the amount of forest and wetlands and tillable land. And you can actually submit that to the town assessor, and if there's an adjustment, she will make it. But usually the use of the land doesn't really change much over time. So at some point, you were given information, or you provided information as to the amount of forest land and wetland. One other factor to consider is that even though it's forest land, it can still be wetland. So forests do have wetlands, so that should be taken into consideration. The other issue is that the asbestos siding is probably a hindrance on market value, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, somebody buying a house would probably not want asbestos siding. However, from what I've seen in the industry, it's really pretty simple to take care of. Rather than ripping off the old siding and putting up new, you just put up new siding. Mr. Allen gave us an estimate of $17,800 for new siding, which he got from a contractor. And if he wanted to make his house more marketable and presentable, as real estate, he would have to probably install vinyl siding over the asbestos siding, and his cost $17,800. So with that in mind, we have a value of $522,900 for the property, and given his estimate of new siding of $17,800 deducted from the total value results in a value of $505,100, which seems reasonable. The other issue, if you want to go ahead and try to get some land change use, do what I said and go to get a forest report, and you may have more room to adjust the value of your land. But for right now, I make a motion to reduce Mr. Allen's property value by $17,800 to $505,100.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Lily?
yes.
Okay, great. And Tom is yes. I'm also yes. So reduce the value to Mr. Allen at 65 Lake Road to 505-100. Next is Orlando Burr Tomlinson and Audrey Tomlinson, 6 Lakeview Drive. So Mr. Tomlinson's main issue was that he felt like he was being taxed at a higher rate for the right-of-way to the lake. And did a pretty good analysis of the other right-of-way in the town. But what I decided to do was to look at the value of the property rather than even consider the value of the right-of-way, and ran some new comparable sales in the area just to tell us what the value of that property would be, regardless of right-of-way access. But the properties I selected were closer to the lake, which means that they could have gone to the town beach, or they can go to their own right-of-way. These comparable sales indicated a value range between 170 and 204 per square foot. If we go at the low end of the range and use Tomlinson's square footage of 2024, that equates to a value of $344,000. We have a current value of $292,900, which is $145 per square foot, which appears to be below market. So based on that information, I don't see that there's any room for value adjustment for Tomlinson's property on 6 Lakeview Drive. I say we keep the town value the same, which is $292,900.
I'll second.
Okay. Very good. Millie?
Yes,
Okay, Tom is yes. I'm also yes. So in that case, the value of the right-of-way is taken out of the equation, and just the value of the property is higher than what the town has it valued at. So that's where that falls. Okay, very good. Next is Brian Peterson, 211 Route 66. So Mr. Peterson felt his assessment was high, his value was high. And he selected a couple comparable sales. One in particular was right next door to him, or not really comparable sales, but other properties. There was one in Wickford Road, which wasn't similar enough to even look at. But the one at 209 Route 66, which is right next door to his house, had a much lower value and assessment. And after doing research on the property, it was determined that the house next door does not have as many quality features. There's an area on the property card called attached components, which includes porches and masonry and cathedral ceilings. And the property next door had a lot less than this property, roughly $47,000 in components on Mr. Peterson's property, and then the one next door was like 23,000. So that accounts for $24,000 in components that are above the property next door. And then also there's a land adjustment. There's more land there, so that's another $9,000.
Hey, Mike. Mike, this is Linda. Can you hold off just for a second? Because Mr. Peterson is just joining the meeting.
Oh, okay,
He's in now.
okay,
Sorry about that. I didn't see him in the waiting room.
that's okay.
Yeah, if you're talking about me, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I was having some computer problems, so I was a little bit late. Sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt whoever's talking.
That's all right. I ask you to mute so that, we can't hear you. That's all right.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Can you mute yourself, Mr. Peterson?
I absolutely will. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying
Thank you.
to,
We're,
Yeah.
we're actually doing your appeal right now.
Do I have to repeat, Linda, or is it going to be on record?
If you could just summarize, yeah, just for his benefit.
All right, so
Right.
what we did, we looked at the comparable sales that you provided, in particular, one next door. And you indicated that the value of your property is much higher than your neighbor and the houses are similar. However, after a little research, we determined that your house has a lot more quality features than the house next door, which are considered or called attached components by the assessor. They include cathedral ceilings, composite deck, wood deck, porches, and attic expansion. So the house next door does not have those items, which is part of the reason why your value is higher than the house next door. The other difference would be land. You have more land. So with the additional components and the land, your value came up a little bit. We were looking at comparable sales in town. Similar homes of similar age and similar size. Found 9 comparable sales in town or in the area. These sales indicated a range between $140 and $183 per square foot. The average was 164.81. And if we use, the other issue was that your square footage is 300 square foot larger. I forgot to mention that. So that would be $100 a square foot based on the way the town values property. That's $30,000 on top of the $24,000 additional components, and then on top of the land. So those are just 3 of the larger itemized points here. But based on comparable sales in the town, the average of similar homes is 164.81 per square foot times 2770, which is the size of your house, equals a value of 456,524. I think we have you less than that. We have, the town has 463.1, and at 164.81, it's 456,524. So it appears as though we're slightly over, and based on that, it seems like we can reduce the value of your property by $6,576 based on average price per square foot of similar homes in the town. So the calculation would be 456,524 minus 6,576, and that would be the new value of the property with the appropriate assessment, which would be 70% of that value. So I make a motion. I don't have, let me see. I can do a quick calculation on a calculator here.
Yeah.
456,524 minus, oh no, 436.1 is the town. 436.1 minus 6,576. 436.1. 436.1. Wait a second. The town, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking at it backwards. The town has a value of 436.1 and market value is 456.5. So the difference is not something that we want to add to your value. So it does not appear that there's any room for adjustment based on comparable sales, and also taking into consideration the sale, the property next door to you, as it's an inferior property. So with that in mind, make a motion to keep the town value at 463.1.
Do am I allowed to speak at all?
Nope. Here a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Millie. Tom?
Yes.
Okay, I'm also yes. So the result is to keep the town value of 463.1, which is reasonable based on comparable sales in the town during that time period. So 211 Route 66 South, Mr. Brian Peterson, value remains the same with the town, 463.1. Okay. Mr. Peterson. Next is Kerry Butler. Mr. Butler. So Mr. Butler indicated that he felt his assessment, his value was high on the property. And again, ran comparable sales on the property. We did not take into consideration the right-of-way access to the lake. So that was totally taken out of the equation. And this is based on comparable sales around the lake. Some have right-of-way access, some do not. Some use the town beach. These properties indicated a average value of $223 per square foot. And given the size of the house, which is 1092 square feet, that results in a value of 243,516. The town has the property valued at 246.1. I'm sorry, 246.7. So the difference is $3,184, which we can reduce the town value by to make it similar to comparable sales in the town. So with that in mind, town value of 246.7 minus $3,184 equals a new value of 243,516. So the value of his property should be reduced and reflect a value of 243,516. That's Mr. Kerry Butler at 3 Lakeview Drive.
I'll second that.
Very good. Thank you. Tom?
Yes.
Okay, Millie's yes. I'm also yes. All right. That's Mr. Butler. Mr. Eric Pearson. So this was a case where
Mike, this is Linda.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I just want to check with Tom to see if he's listened to the audio for the appeals that were heard on the 15th.
I did.
Okay. I just
that's okay, yeah.
comfortable in participating in the
No, I listened to all of it. I heard, I actually did have one question, but I can take that offline. It's not important right now.
So Mr. Pearson had heavy equipment that was due an exemption. However, paperwork was failed to be submitted on time. We looked through the town and the assessor did not get the information. However, given that information was provided for another machine, it's reasonable that both machines should have been submitted at the same time. And the town is willing to accept the exemption for the prior year. I believe he did not receive the exemption for the previous year. And so we're going to allow that. I make a motion to allow Mr. Pearson an exemption for the other piece of equipment for the prior year. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Tom? Well, you don't need to. Take a vote, Tom? Tom?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I dropped off for a second. I apologize.
That's all right. You
I lost
vote.
my connection.
We're taking a vote on Mr. Pearson. You in favor?
You're giving him the exemptions, correct?
Yes.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, great. And Millie's yes, and I'm also yes. So that will be taken care of by the assessor. She will get the exemption. All right, next is Julie Lacasse, 4 Lakeview Drive. Mrs. Lacasse had a deck that was detached and felt that the deck should not be taxed. We have a $1,700 value on the deck. In this case, if $1,700 value times 0.7. So this is roughly $30 per year that we're talking about. So in this case, the deck is relatively large, so it's not like it's something that's movable. I mean, if it was a 2x2 or a 4x4 deck that you could pick up and slide around the yard, but it's not feasible to think that somebody can pick up a 10x10 deck and just move it at their will. So it may not be on permanent footings, but I believe it's just as useful as another deck. In this case, I don't think we should make an adjustment for the deck because it is not a fix to the land. I make a motion to keep the value of 4 Lakeview Drive the same with no adjustment for the deck. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second,
Okay, very good. Thank you. Millie?
yes.
Okay, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, I'm also yes. So no change in property value for Lakeview, 4 Lakeview Drive, Columbia, Julie Lacasse. All right, next is Mr. and Mrs. Core, 38A Hennequin Road. Mr. LaCour indicated, Mr. Core indicated that when he built the house, it wasn't, as of 10/1/21, it was not complete. And there were a few items that weren't complete yet, like a driveway, some site work, and some fixtures, appliances. Did some research on that and found that if you get the CO and there's only a few items remaining, that the property can be taxed at the full amount at that time. So I believe the CO was granted and the house was being used. That is a non-factor. The other issue was the square footage calculation. I think we had the property square footage. Let me look at my notes here. We had the property at 4166 square feet. And I was able to locate the building plans in the town hall and calculated the square footage of the first and second floor. And I came up with 3396 plus 572 square feet over the garage, which equals 3968 square feet. There appears to be a difference in square footage from the assessor and the building plan. So the value of the property should be reduced to reflect the smaller size of the property. I'm not sure what the amount is, but it will be passed on to the town assessor and she will make the appropriate adjustment and it will reduce the overall value of the property. By how much, I'm not sure because I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it's going to be a couple hundred square feet at whatever basis they use for valuing the property. So I don't have an actual number to use here. However, I make a motion that The town reduces the value of the property to take into consideration the actual square footage, which is 3968 rather than 4166. Here's a second.
Second.
Okay, very good. Billy?
I agree.
Okay, great. And I also agree. So that's 38A Hennequin Road. Nathan and Larissa Core reduce the value of the property to reflect 3968 square feet. Next is Torgate Realty, Route 6. This situation, the town or the Reval company indicated that they had a digital billboard on the property. Took a drive by, there is no digital billboard on the property. So we're going to reduce the value of that. The value of the property from the property card is $200,200. And if we take away the digital billboard, which is $24,250, that equates to a value of $175,950. So I make a motion to reduce the value of property located at Route 6, map 6, lot 33, from $200,200 to $175,950. There a second.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Millie?
Yes,
Okay, great. I'm also yes. So a town assessor to reduce the value on that property to 175,950. All right, Mr. Kasika, 213 Millstream Road. So in this particular case, the assessor is working with Mr. Kasika, realizing that certain areas of the house were not finished. The Reval company called them finished, and they shouldn't have. And so the town assessor is working with Mr. Kasika to make the appropriate adjustments. And don't know what those are going to be, but I'm sure there's going to be a reduction in value. Best we can do here is to approve Mr. Kasika's appeal based on changes agreed upon by the assessor and himself. So I make a motion to approve the appeal subject to changes by the assessor. There a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, very good. Tom?
Yes.
Okay, I'm also yes. All right, that's Mr. Kasika. Next is Schifrin property, 52 Route 66 East, appealed by Rolando West. So in this case, Mr. West submitted a cost approach initially, which was inappropriate because it's not, it's an older property, and these properties are typically purchased for their income rather than comparable sales or cost approach. So Mr. West came back with a partial income analysis. However, in the analysis, he didn't take into consideration the actual lease or the square footage of the property. He calculated the square footage at 65, which is the total property, and the retail portion is only 1,500 square feet. He estimated the value of the rent at $11 per square foot when it's actually much higher. So the analysis is not complete, and it includes errors, and I don't see any place that we can make an adjustment given the information that we were provided. The town has a value on this property 7-Eleven has a value of $850,341, and their appeal was for $794,000. However, the analysis wasn't accurate and missing a lot of information. So I'm going to make a motion to keep the value of that property the same at $850,341. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second,
Okay, great. Millie, how do you vote?
yes,
Tom?
Yes.
All right, I'm also yes. So this is 52 Route 66 Columbia, 7-Eleven. Value to remain the same. Okay. Next will be Ms. Tamika Brown, 32 Oakwood Lane. So Ms. Brown submitted some comparable sales, believing that her value was high. The properties that were submitted were not very comparable. One was very dated. I looked it up online. It was in the MLS, and it was much more dated on the inside than their house was, according to MLS photos. One of the comps, Latham Road, was too old. It was in mid 2020 when values were lower. Values have increased substantially since then. Another comp was January of 2020, which was a different market altogether. The market has gone up 15% in a year. And the other was July Drive, which was also a June 2020 sale. So these comps are old and they don't reflect the current market. So what we did was run comparable sales on this property for similar properties in the area. Again, it's difficult because it's a large house with acreage, but large homes in the area, in the Columbia area, indicate a average value of $157.52 per square foot. We have it valued at $156 per square foot. And the comparable sales indicate $157.52. So with that in mind, and the average, let's see, was 166, 157, I'm sorry, 157, with a range of 154 to 179. So with that in mind, it doesn't appear as though there's any room for a downward adjustment in the value of the property. And I'll make a motion to keep the value of the property where it is according to town assessor, which is $491,700. This also represents a 17% increase since 2017, which is very reasonable, given that they paid $419 for it in 2017. So I make a motion to keep the value of 32 Oakwood Lane, Columbia, at its current value. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Millie, how do you vote?
yes,
Okay, I'm also yes. So 32 Oakwood Lane, Columbia, Ms. Blackburn, property value to remain the same. And one other factor that we probably should have mentioned is the comparable sales I used didn't have the acreage that this property has, and the acreage does add value. So based on that, it seems like the comparable sales were more than reasonable. So I don't believe there's any room for a value change. Okay, very good. That's that. Next is Mr. Michael Hartling. We had 3 properties. First one I'll discuss is 4 Lakeview Park West, which is a barn type structure, a garage type structure on a small parcel of land that cannot be developed. It's value is limited, utility is limited only to those people around there because you can't live in it. You can't add to it. So really it's a barn garage type structure on a piece of land. The building was valued at $129,100 by the town. And given that it's, I think it was built in 1990, it's incurred some depreciation. And I estimated of a 75-year useful life, 30 years have already been used up. So that's a 40% depreciation. And so when you take the value, the cost of the building, 129.1 times 60%, a value of 77460 is realized. And then if you add in the land of $2,200, a total value of 79,660 is realized. So current value of that building, I don't have it in front of me.
Current value is 90,370.
Is that what the current, is that the assessment of the value?
That's the assessment. You want the appraised value?
Yeah, we're going to deal with the appraised value because,
The
oh, yeah, there it
appraised
is.
value is 129,100.
129,100. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, no, the appraised value is 131,300. 131,300
Oh,
is,
I'm sorry.
that's all right. 131,300 is the appraised
So that
value.
includes, yeah. Yep, that includes the land.
Okay, yep. So we're going to reduce the value of that property to 79,660 based on depreciated value of the improvements and land. So I make a motion to reduce the value of 4 Lakeview Park West to $79,660. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Millie, how do you vote?
I'll vote yes.
Okay, Tom's yes, I'm also yes. All right, the next property owned by Mr. Hartling is 18 Lakeview Park West. It's a waterfront property. He provided one comparable sale. However, that property is inferior as it's a cottage, not a year-round property, and it's also on Route 87, which is considered inferior. So that comparable sale really didn't tell us much at all. That was $327 per square foot, by the way, and it's inferior. The comps in the area for waterfront properties on Columbia Lake and around Columbia Lake are $350 per square foot with a range of $300 to $400 per square foot. So if the comps show a value of $350 per square foot times the square footage of the property, which is 1344, we come up with a value of $470,400. And the town has the property valued at $460,500. So our value is actually lower than market value at that time. So there's no room to adjust the value downward on that property. I make a motion to keep the value of 18 Lakeview Park West at $460,500. Wait a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, very good. Tom, how do you vote?
Yes.
Millie's yes, I'm also yes. All right, the next property owned by Mr. Hartling is 7 Lakeview Park. He provided comparable sales. His comps were $217 per square foot, which would result in a value of $300,000. We have it valued at $237,000. So I don't think he wanted to use those comparable sales. But I did do an inspection on the property because he indicated that it did not have a finished basement, which the town property card indicates. So I went and looked at the house and it does not have a finished basement. So we have a value think we have 237.6 is the value on that property. If I'm correct. I don't want to speak out of turn here.
Yeah, it's 237.6.
Okay, great, thanks. So we're gonna reduce that value by 10,800, which is the value given to the finished basement by the town assessor, minus $10,800. So the resulting value, 237.6 minus 10.8 equals 226.8 value. So I make a motion to reduce the value of 7 Lakeview Park to $226,800. So here's
I'll
something.
second.
Very good. Millie, how do you vote?
Yes,
Okay, I'm also yes. All right, and the last one is Miss Lorraine Dubois, 250 Route 87. When I did an inspection on the property, Ms. Dubois had reason to believe that her property had a lot of issues as far as construction goes and roof and those types of things. And I went and did an inspection, and it appears as though the roof was at least 20 years old. The roof on the cottage was 2003. So that's 19 years old, and that's in very good condition. One in the house is not as good condition, but it's an older roof. So, yeah, I mean, it's a cedar roof, and I believe these should last longer, but I'm not really sure if it's, I don't know exactly when that roof was put on because the town records don't indicate that, but it was 20 years plus. So based on what I saw at my inspection, the property was not suffering that much from deferred maintenance. There were areas that needed to be taken care of, maybe big weather tight so that there weren't issues down the road. However, that's normal wear and tear, and that's what everybody has to do with their house. The only thing I came up with was that we ran some comparable sales to see where the value was and if there was any room for adjustment. And the comps indicate a value of 156 per square foot, which, let me see. I don't know if I have the calculation on that, but I think, let me see. Value is 315.2 according to the town. What I determined was that the value was reasonable. The comps showed 156 per square foot, which based on the size of the house is about right. However, none of the comparable sales is located as close to Route 87 as her house. And that should definitely have been taken into consideration by the reval company when they did the valuation. So a reasonable adjustment for proximity to the main road is a 5% reduction in value. And after using the town value of 315.2 and reducing the value by 5%, a value of 299,440 is realized. So I make a motion to reduce the value of 250 Route 87 to $299,440. Right here, second.
I'll second.
Okay, Millie, how do you vote?
yes,
Okay, I'm also yes. So reduce the value on Mr. Dubois' property to $299,400. Okay. Was there anything else, Linda? I thought there was something else that came across late.
I neglected again to look in the waiting room. I don't know how long Mr. West has been in there, but I'm just connecting him now.
Okay.
Okay, he's connected, Mike. I don't know if you want to just summarize what you did with his appeal.
Yeah, so I'll just summarize here, but Mr. West's appeal started out as a cost approach, which is inappropriate for a income producing property, and came back with a modified income approach. However, it did not take into consideration the current lease. He estimated the rent at $11 per square foot. It's actually much higher than that. I got a copy of the real lease, and it's $72,000 per year. And the space for the 7-Eleven is much smaller in size than he indicated. So there's several errors in the analysis. And based on that, I don't see any room to make an adjustment. So we're going to leave the value of that property, the 7-Eleven property, at 52 Route 66, where it is currently. And that was the summary of that one. We voted on it and decided to keep it where it was based on lack of a good income analysis. Because the value of this property is based on its income. Somebody looking to buy this property wouldn't be concerned with the cost approach. They want to know how much money they can make on the property. And given accurate income and expense information, the value should be where it is. And also taking into consideration the fact that the information was provided by the owner. That's the information the town used. So if you use the owner's information, I'm sure you'll come up with a similar value range. So based on that, there's the value is going to remain the same. Okay. All right, I believe that takes care of all of the appeals for the evening. Do we need to do anything as far as formality goes with the meeting?
No, that's it.
Okay, so I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all your help. And
All in favor? Yes,
Millie, stay safe. Drive careful.
thank you very much. We will.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.